The 80s tried to kill muscle cars with emissions rules, but turbochargers fired back. What followed was pure madness. 5 turbocharged legends that rewrote the rules and left a blazing trail in automotive history. 5. The Buick GNX, America's Darth Vader. Imagine telling someone in 1987 that one of the fastest American production cars came from Buick. Yes, Buick, the brand your grandpa drove to church in on Sundays. But the GNX wasn't just fast for a Buick, it was flat out fast. Back in the early 80s, Buick was desperate to ditch its safe and boring image. Enter Dave Sharp, the chief engineer with a wild vision, build a Grand National so fierce it would smoke every other car on the street. To pull it off, Buick teamed up with McLaren Performance Technologies and American Specialty Cars to create something legendary. Each GNX started as a fully loaded Grand National before hitting ASC McLaren's shop for a serious upgrade. The heart of this beast was a turbocharged 3.8-liter V6 with a Garrett turbo that spooled faster than you could say boost. They added a bigger intercooler and wrapped pipes in heat-resistant material, because turbos love to get hot and crank out power. Officially, Buick rated it at 276 horsepower, but real-world tests showed it was closer to 300 horses and a monstrous 420 pound-feet of torque. That meant it could rocket from 0 to 60 miles per hour in 4.6 seconds and run the quarter mile in 12.7 seconds at 113 miles per hour. In 1987, that put it ahead of Corvettes, Ferraris, Porsches, and even the Lamborghini Countach. The GNX was only offered in black, looking like Darth Vader's personal ride, complete with fender vents and 16-inch mesh wheels. Inside, it had cool Stuart Warner gauges and a numbered plaque, reminding owners they were part of an exclusive club. Only 547 were ever made. This wasn't just a Buick, it was a turbocharged rebellion that showed muscle cars weren't dead yet. Buick wanted to beat the Corvette, and they did. Simple as that. 4. The Shelby Omni GLHS, the Pocket Rocket. If the GNX was the unexpected hero, the Shelby Omni GLHS was straight up automotive blasphemy, in the best way possible. Carroll Shelby took America's most humble economy car and turned it into a legit giant killer, leaving the whole performance world slack-jawed. It all started when Lee Iacocca, trying to breathe life back into Chrysler, called up his old buddy Shelby for help. Shelby spotted something special in the lightweight Dodge Omni and slapped on the name GLH, short for Goes Like Hell. But he wasn't done yet. In 1986, Shelby's team grabbed 500 turbocharged Omni GLHTs, shipped them to California, and transformed them into the GLHS, Goes Like Hell s'more. Under the hood, Shelby upgraded to a bigger Garrett turbo and added an air-to-air intercooler, pushing the power to 175 horsepower and 175 pound-feet of torque. For a car that weighs less than a paperclip, that translated to 0 to 60 in 6.5 seconds and a quarter-mile sprint in 14.8 seconds, enough to embarrass way pricier sports cars. To handle all that punch, Shelby fitted adjustable Coney shocks, stiffer springs, and 15-inch aluminum wheels wrapped in sticky Goodyear Gatorback tires. It came only in black with silver pinstripes and GLHS decals, looking ready for a street fight despite its economy car roots. What made the Shelby Omni GLHS truly outrageous wasn't just the speed, but the sheer audacity. Car and Driver called it a high-tech hot rod, proving that when Carroll Shelby's involved, size really doesn't matter. 3. The Pontiac Turbo Trans Am, boosting against the odds. When tough emissions rules started strangling muscle cars in the 80s, Pontiac wasn't about to wave the white flag. Instead, they unleashed the Turbo Trans Am, a car that kept the American performance dream alive when most thought it was dead and buried. The late 70s were rough. Government rules meant cleaner air and better gas mileage, which translated to smaller engines and less power. For Pontiac, a brand famous for big V8s and roaring engines, this was a nightmare. But the engineers saw a chance to shake things up. They took their trusty 301 cubic inch V8 and strapped on a Garrett turbocharger, cranking up the boost to 9 psi. Suddenly, that smaller engine was breathing fire, pumping out 210 horsepower and a hefty 345 pound-feet of torque. To keep this turbocharged beast reliable, Pontiac went all in with beefed-up parts, thicker cylinder walls, forged pistons, and a high-pressure oil pump. The real genius move was the electronic spark controller, which used knock sensors to prevent engine damage by tweaking the timing on the fly. It was like having a brain inside the engine, keeping it safe and fast. The Turbo Trans Am looked the part too, with a bulging hood decked out with Turbo 4.9 decals and a boost gauge right on the hood. Underneath, it had the WS6 performance package, stiffer springs, bigger sway bars, and four-wheel disc brakes to keep all that power in check. Its moment of glory came as the pace car for the 1980 Indy 500, and about 5,700 replicas hit the streets. It even stole some screen time in Smokey and the Bandit 2, forever stamping its place in muscle car lore. Though it only lasted a couple of years, the Turbo Trans Am wasn't just another muscle car. It was proof American engineering could pivot, innovate, and keep the fire burning when the odds were stacked against it. 2. The Callaway Sledgehammer Corvette. 254 mile-per-hour street-legal insanity. Alright, buckle up because the Callaway Sledgehammer isn't just any Corvette, it's the car equivalent of a mic drop. Imagine this, it's 1988, and you've got a Corvette that can hit 254.76 miles per hour. Yeah, that's faster than a lot of today's fancy hypercars, and you can still drive it on the street with the air conditioning blasting like you're just out for a casual Sunday cruise. No sweat, literally. So, here's the backstory. Reeves Callaway, a guy who probably drank way too much motor oil as a kid, started Callaway Cars in '77, tuning turbochargers for European cars. By '86, Chevrolet basically slid into his DMs and said, "Hey Reeves, want to make our Corvette faster?" This was huge because it was the first time Chevy let an outsider officially soup up their ride. But Reeves, he wasn't content with just faster. Nah, he wanted to build the fastest street-legal car in the world. A crazy science experiment on wheels. Enter the Sledgehammer. Under the hood, it had a 5.7-liter V8 packed with forged bits, some fancy Brodick cylinder heads, and not one, but two turbochargers. That's right, twin turbos pumping out 898 horsepower and 772 pound-feet of torque. Basically, this thing had more muscle than a gym full of bodybuilders. It looked slick too, thanks to some aerodynamic tweaks that made it cut through air like a hot knife through butter, without looking like it was auditioning for a sci-fi movie. Inside, it had a roll cage for safety, but didn't skimp on the comforts. Air conditioning, check. Stereo, check. Power seats, check. Because if you're flying down the highway at over 250 miles per hour, you better stay comfy. On October 26, 1988, driver John Lingenfelter took this beast to the track in Ohio and hit that insane top speed. And get this, after breaking the record, they drove it 700 miles home in the rain. Yeah, it's basically the automotive version of, I just ran a marathon, now I'm going grocery shopping. Reeves nailed it when he said, people always want to know, what'll she do? Well, this car answers that question loud and clear. The Sledgehammer wasn't just fast, it was a full-on statement. 1. The Shelby CSX VNT, technological revolution. Alright, now let's talk about the 1989 Shelby CSX VNT, the little car that packs such futuristic tech it might as well have been from the future. Picture this, a compact Dodge Shadow that wasn't just about getting you from point A to B, but doing it with a turbocharged brain that was way ahead of its time. By the late 80s, Carroll Shelby was already famous for turning regular cars into something wild, but the CSX VNT was next level stuff. This wasn't your grandma's turbo. It featured variable nozzle turbo technology. Yeah, sounds fancy because it is fancy. Instead of the usual turbo setup that kind of plays catch up with your engine, this thing had movable vanes inside the turbo housing that adjusted on the fly. Imagine your turbo doing yoga, flexing just right to keep the power smooth and instant. The biggest win? Zero turbo lag. That annoying delay when you hit the gas and your turbo's still waking up, forget it. This baby had peak torque at just over 2,000 RPM, meaning you got power right when you wanted it, not 10 seconds later like your usual turbo struggles. Porsche didn't get around to doing this trick on their 911 turbo until 2006. That's a 17-year head start. Shelby was basically showing everyone, hold my turbo. And if that wasn't enough, the CSX VNT rolled on special lightweight composite wheels Shelby called Fiber Rideys. Lighter than aluminum and painted gold, these wheels weren't just for show, they helped the car handle like a dream. Plus, the bright red paint made sure you noticed this pocket rocket zooming past. Only 500 of these were made, making it rarer than a polite traffic jam. Car and driver called it a high-tech hot rod and loved how it could hit 156 miles per hour with style. Basically, the CSX VNT was proof that sometimes the little guys bring the biggest surprises, especially when Carroll Shelby's behind the wheel of innovation. So next time you feel that surge of boost in your modern turbocharged vehicle, remember the outrageous 80s machines that paved the way, proving that sometimes the most exciting automotive revolutions come with a distinctive whistle and a rush of compressed air. And hey, if this turbocharged trip down memory lane got your heart racing, don't just sit there idling. Hit that like button faster than a GNX hitting 60, slam subscribe so you never miss a wild ride, and drop a comment telling us which of these turbo legends you'd love to take for a spin, or at least admire from a safe distance. Let's keep that boost love alive.